Hi there, we are Matt and Cheryl, and we're back to give you more tips to help you enjoy the best of the West. We have a channel and website where we do videos and we create travel guides to help you enjoy your vacations out west. Our website is we'reintherockies.com. And today we're talking about 4 of the best scenic drives in Capital Reef National Park.
And I would argue maybe even in the United States. They are really cool.
Yeah, so if you're visiting Capital Reef, you want to at least know about these so that you're prepared and you can kind of choose which ones might be best for you. So our first drive that we're going to go on is the Capital Reef Scenic Drive. This is the main road that goes through the center portion of the park. And it goes from the visitor center down to the end, and then you have to turn around and come back. So it's a one-way road, and it's about 10 miles long to the end. And what you'll do is you'll drive through the little town of Fruta, and then you'll head out into this red rock formation. And there's a big red rock wall on the left-hand side as you're driving down the road. This is actually really nice to do in the evening as the sun is setting, because the sun hits that red rock wall and just shines off of it. It's really pretty. The end of the road is a little dirt road called Capital Gorge, and this was awesome. Really high canyon walls that you drive through on this dirt road.
The dirt road isn't too crazy. I think a normal car could handle it, although an SUV would be better with higher clearance, but plenty of normal cars we saw driving along that road. It's 2 miles through a dirt road slot canyon. In fact, they do limit how long your car can be, 27 feet. If you have a big motorhome, they're going to say that's a no-go, because there are some pretty drastic hairpin turns that you go on. But I love this because you get the experience of hiking a slot canyon without getting out of the car, which is wonderful if you or someone that you travel with have mobility issues, or if you just want to see it from the air conditioning of your car. It can get hot in Capital Reef. So really, I've never seen a slot canyon like that you can drive through. Normally, you're having to put the work through with your feet.
One of our very favorite experiences on our 3-day vacation to Capital Reef. Okay, the next road is Highway 24. This is the main road that cuts through Capital Reef National Park. So Capital Reef is 100 miles long. It's a very long park, but it's also very narrow. And the state road, Highway 24, cuts right through it. But this is no slouch. This is a great road. It actually cuts through some of the main geological formations at Capital Reef. You'll see things like the Capitol Dome, which is a big white rock, rounded white rock dome. You'll see Pechtel's Pyramid. Anyway, some really cool stuff. There's also some little sites located along that road, like little roadside stops that you can stop at, like the petroglyphs and the Fruta School, the little schoolhouse that was used forever ago, where you can learn about the story of the lady who taught there for a year and just about lost it because she was dealing with all these little hooligans. So that is kind of cool. There's also another little cabin called the Behunin cabin there, where you can learn about this pioneer family who stayed there in this little one-room tiny cabin with 13 children. How crazy is that? So this is some of the best white rock formations that you'll see in the whole park is by driving along this road. Okay, our next road is called Loop the Fold. So they have a road that goes around the Water Pocket Fold. Capital Reef is protected as a national park because of this geological formation called the Water Pocket Fold, which is really kind of a strange geological formation that has been tilted on its side, and you can see all these layers that have been exposed, and it's really crazy scenery that you'll never see anywhere else. But they have a little drive that you can do called Loop the Fold, and you can actually buy this brochure at the Visitor Center for $3, and it'll tell you all the stops to make on the Loop the Fold drive.
And it's nice because it's timed with your odometer, so you just set your odometer at the beginning of it, and it'll say, okay, at mile 65, on the left side of the road, you're going to see this. I really liked it for that reason, because there's a lot of things on there that are not marked that we would have never seen. We saw some petrified oysters on one of the stops because Capital Reef, Capitol comes from some of the rock formations that look like the U.S. Capitol, and the reef comes because there's actually a reef there because it used to be under the ocean. So evidence right there. We saw the fossils of the oysters that were there millions of years ago.
Yeah, and so this is not a well-marked road. In fact, a lot of the road is a dirt road. A lot of it's paved, but a lot of it is dirt. So you have to be prepared on this one. And it is over 100 miles long. So it took us 5 hours to drive this road. And we have a SUV, and I was going a little fast on some of these dirt roads probably. And it still took us 5 hours to drive the entire loop around the road. So you do need to be prepared if you're going to do this one, not only with having this little travel guide, but also make sure you're filled up on gas before you go, because there's no people around, let alone gas stations or amenities.
Yeah.
There's nothing around.
So, and let's be clear, no food, no water, no bathrooms, no gas stations.
Yeah.
You might see 5 other cars in the whole 5 hours you're driving around.
You're in the middle of the desert,
yes.
in the middle of nowhere. And if you break down, it could be a long time before somebody comes to get you. So be prepared with being able to change a tire or whatever.
But if you're looking to get away from it all, this is the drive for you.
And it was great. So down at the bottom of the fold, about midway through, you'll get to these Burr Trail switchbacks, these really amazing switchbacks that head up this mountain. It's a dirt road heading up the mountain. Cheryl said it was, your third
Number
scariest
3
drive?
scariest. Number 1, going to the Sun Road Glacier National Park. And then the next one is the Beartooth Highway in Yellowstone. And then this one. But this one has an extra special scare to it because you're alone and it's dirt.
Yeah, dirt, gravelly road heading up these switchbacks. Don't want to scare you too much on it because the road's plenty wide and all that, but
it looks foreboding from the bottom, just saying.
It does. And so that was just an amazing experience, though. Wow, just an incredible experience. And then once you get up top, after the switchbacks, you'll head through this really beautiful canyon. There's a red rock canyon with these walls on each side of you. It's called Long Canyon. And man, we just really loved that drive.
Well, and I just wanted to say what I liked about it personally was the diversity of the geology. We've been to several national parks, and I love that the beginning of the drive, it looked like the hills of Badlands, like that white crusty mountain. We saw hoodoos like there are at Bryce. We saw slot canyons like there are at Zion. I mean, it was just really, really neat. And even some overlooks towards the end. You're seeing some really good overlooks too.
Yep, and then when you get to the end of Long Canyon, you get to a little city called Boulder, Utah. City's probably too generous there. It's just a tiny little town, Boulder, Utah, that is really kind of in the middle of nowhere, but is a foodie town. So they have some really great restaurants in Boulder, Utah. We ate at the Burr Trail Grill. It
was a happening place, and it was delicious. I mean, really, that was probably the highlight of the drive. It was so good.
That was the highlight of the drive. The food.
Well, that's how good the food was. It was
good.
Really good. It was pretty unique. I had a tofu sandwich, and I don't even like tofu, but they made the tofu good. But they're famous for their hamburgers, their French dip sandwiches, and their pies.
And then Boulder, Utah is actually located on Scenic Route 12, Highway 12, which is considered an all-American road, a very scenic road in its own right. And so to get back to Capitol Reef, or at least to Torrey, which is kind of the gateway town to Capitol Reef, you'll come back on Scenic Route 12 over Boulder Mountain. And that'll also has some great overlooks. In fact, that's one of the best ways to see Capitol Reef is from Boulder Mountain, because you can stop at those overlooks and look at the geology, the red rock geology below, and then the Henry Mountains in the background. I mean, the whole thing was just a stunning drive. So loop the fold. The next road is called the Cathedral Loop Road. And this is actually, the whole thing is a dirt road, and it is more rough than even the dirt section on the Loop the Fold drive.
It's about 15 miles of pretty gravelly, rough road.
Now the entire loop, the entire Cathedral Loop, is like an 8-hour deal. It's an all-day deal to go all the way around the loop. So I didn't want to put my family through that and all the bouncing and the dirt road.
We had all 8 of us in the car, so...
Yeah, it was going to be a nightmare, and everybody's going to be puking probably. So I just did a shortcut, basically, did the last part of the loop, and I drove from Highway 24 up to the Temples of the Sun and the Moon. It was still a fairly bumpy road for 15 miles, and man, it went through some of the strangest scenery you'll ever see. It was really, it's much more desert on this side of it, probably. But you get to you pass these little rounded hills that they call Mars that are like purple and white, and man, those are kind of a quirky little formation there. In fact, nearby there is a place called the Mars Research Desert Facility. It's actually a private place that does research for Mars right there in that area. But anyway, you drive past there, and then you get to two of the most famous formations in Capitol Reef National Park. This is the Temple of the Sun and the Temple of the Moon. And I loved these formations. I thought they were fantastic. We walked around them a little bit, and we were all quite amazed at how big they were.
And they reminded me of Devil's Tower, if you've ever been there, just like this big mountain poking out of the ground. And the Temple of the Sun's actually a pretty iconic feature of the park. That's my shirt that has Capitol Reef on it. That's the picture for it. And there's also Glass Mountain right by there, which we have mentioned before. It's more like a hill. It's not a mountain size, but it's really cool. I mean, it looks like it's made of glass, and there's little like slivers of rocks that have fallen off that you can pick up and look a little more closely at. Just make sure to leave them on the ground because it's national park property. You have to leave things where they are. But it was cool. And from there, you get a great view of the Temple of the Sun and the Temple of the Moon. You can see them both at the same time.
So again, for that drive, now for the Loop the Fold drive, that's again a 5-hour drive if you do the full thing, so you need to be prepared. For this Cathedral Loop drive, if you do the full thing, it's probably around 8 hours, and you're going to have an off-roading vehicle there. Just to do the section we did, still took quite a while. It's about an hour and a half out to the Temple of the Sun from the Capitol Reef Visitor Center. We extended it a little bit while we were out there. We went to a little place called Swing Arm City, which is an ATV mecca, like a place where dirt bikers go to ride up these insanely crazy walls. And so that was really cool to see, although unfortunately when we were there weren't too many people dirt biking. But if you were there during a time when they're dirt biking, I bet that'd be real cool to see. And then right by there is a place called Factory Butte that was kind of a fun little side trip as well. Really kind of quirky geology in this whole area of central Utah near Capitol Reef National Park. So for that Cathedral Loop, though, you do need to be prepared to have a vehicle that can handle the bumps of a dirt road. It's not as graded as the other one. We have a playlist with Capitol Reef videos all about Capitol Reef to help you get prepared and excited for your trip. So make sure to check that out as well. Thank you for watching, and until next time, go west, young traveler.